All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Gankutsuou,
the Count of Monte Cristo, Episode 1. A blast from the past. Let's go back in time.
To the future, apparently.
To the future, because it's
with
a sci-fi. Right. It's a sci-fi adaptation of that book that was way too fucking long, and then got that movie that was way shorter and way different. And we have experience with both. Mm-hmm. I didn't finish the book. I got like 80% of the way through because it's long and dry as
I'm a huge fan of the book. Alexander Dumas created basically one of the best soap operas of his time.
Yes.
And just kept publishing it in French newspapers, and it just went so freaking long because
when
people
you're
were
paid by the word,
gimme, more. And here we are. Here we are. We are, watching an anime that is based on a very old French novel, which is a collection of newspaper little soaps, little bits there. And I'm excited. I'm
excited too.
And it's like one of the first anime that we'll be reacting to where we are actually familiar with the source material.
Right.
And
yet, who knows if that actually
if that means anything.
Much.
Yeah, exactly. Because this might be one of the loosest adaptations ever.
Yep.
And it's just that we know that the Count of Monte Cristo is out there and he wants vengeance,
Right, exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
What a surprise, right?
One thing I will mention is that I heard about this show long-ass time ago, and I watched like 2 or 3 episodes at some point late at night. Don't really remember much other than that there was a crazy art style, which you can kind of see from any of the promotional material or whatever.
But just throwing that out there. So long ago that you watched it.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
But
one of the things I'm really excited about this is having just come off of Run with the Wind, which is very, very, very sweet, wholesome, heart-wrenching show. This one I feel like is going to be just artsy and just really pretty.
It is definitely artsy, from what I remember.
And also has a bunch of legendary voice actors and voice actresses in it, including one of our favorite ones to meme on for the Count.
Yeah.
Who voices Kire Kotomine.
Which,
so we're going to get very deep.
That is going to be awesome.
Voice.
Like that is going to be amazing.
I'm very excited for this one.
And I think wasn't it Lelouch was one of them too,
Lelouch
right?
is apparently in the cast as well. The voice actress for Sakura from Naruto.
Less, excited.
Well, right, but it's still someone from,
exactly.
Pretty popular voice actress.
Yep.
A bunch of others as well, and I'm really looking forward to this. So this is gonna be really cool. This is what's taking over the Wind, and I decided this basically just because it was a Count of Monte Cristo adaptation that I heard people really liked, and it's just kind of gone under the radar. Since 2004.
Yeah, since 17 years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Never would win a poll. But all right, guys. Without further ado, let's get into it. Okay. Wow, quite extravagant. At Journey's End, we meet. Ooh. Oh. Oh, Marquise. Oh, okay.
ところでそちらは
はい。僕の旅仲間で無二の親友アルベールド・モルセール子爵です。
Nice, Albert. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So you were right. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Whoa.
In the middle of the performance.
That's audacious.
Yeah.
And she just runs with it.
Yeah.
Wow.
辺境で一山当てた成金だとか外宇宙から来た異星人だとか果ては怪人吸血鬼だなんて言う人もいるわ
お名前は
We don't know his name.
Cristo.
But the Count of Yes. Oh, cool. Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, because this is like from the perspective of Albert, where he doesn't know the backstory.
Because that was one of the other things, probably one of the biggest things that the movie changed from the books, is that the movie made it be from the Count's perspective, whereas in the book it was his perspective at the beginning, and then at some points later, but then
for a while,
almost always after that, it was someone else's perspective.
Yeah. The designs on the structures and stuff, and yet it's also somewhat more exaggerated, but look at his shirt, that's so cool.
Well, and if you notice the image that they have, the pattern that they have, is actually still.
Yeah, it's still.
And then his outline moves
around it. Right,
Yeah.
right. Oh, is that his ship?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
that's so
I
cool.
love, like, this is 2004.
Oh.
3D in 2004. Arcane. Oh yeah, the atmosphere is amazing. All right.
失礼ですが、405号のモルセール子爵様で。
Deep voice.
いかにも。
私の主、モンテクリスト伯爵様からメッセージでございます。
まあどう思う？
どうって何が？
なぜ見ず知らずの俺たちを？
Oh, to both
同
of
じ宿の
you.
貴族同士仲良くしたいって書いてあっただろ。晩飯ぐらい付き合えよ。
本物の貴族かどうかだって怪しいもんだ。
はじめまして。私、モンテクリスト伯爵と申します。
Oh yeah.
The voice is amazing. Whoa.
さっきから全然お召し上がりにならないようですが。
どうかお気遣いなく。
Whoa.
旅
Whoa.
の日々は知り合いと、
Okay.
日々の食事も一人では味気ないもの。
自分は普段はあまりオペラとか見ないんですが。でも、話には思わず引き込まれてしまいました。
なるほど。アルベール様には劇中のごとく恋焦がれる思い人でもいらっしゃるとか。
いえ、とんでもない。
正直にハグ
That's why we have the friend here. Yeah.
そもそも自分はあのオペラの主人公のような恋をしたこともありません。
Ah, you wish to be in love like that, though.
Yeah.
他のことだってそうです。
To be young again.
夢中になれる何か、心を掴んで離さない何か。
あらゆる可能性、希望、そして熱い情熱。
伯爵もそんな恋のご経験、どんな方だったのですか？
おい失礼だぞ。
かくいう私もかつて一人の女性を思い続けていたこと
I
が
love how he stood up and we never even noticed him stand up.
Right. He's just all of a sudden there.
Yeah.
それらは全て
Robbed from me.
夢に終わってしまいました。夢は夢だったというわけです。
I'm gonna have to look
ベ
at
ル
that
ツィ
painting again.
オ、お二人にコーヒーを。はい。今宵は
Abrupt
本当にありがとうございました。
Yeah.
とんでもない。こちら
And
こ
now
そ。
I
ど
will
うでしょう
I will leave you. Oh.
明日はぜひ私のバルコニーでお昼をご一緒したいのです。
And thus begins the seduction.
申し訳ありません伯爵。ご恋とはいえさすがにそこまでは。
ルナの公開処刑はいわばカーニバルの花。
Oh.
Oh, they're bringing that in. Cool. Oh,
Okay.
okay, yeah.
これを見ずしてルナのカーニバルは語れない。そうですよね。アルベールさん。
ええ、伯爵のおっしゃる通りです。
It's just a question of whether they'll use the guillotine or something else, or a hanging,
お
or
前どうした？顔色が悪いぞ。
冷たかったんだ。すごく。
it was
So-
ready to sacrifice too.
まるで死人のように。
Yeah, so vampire then? That comment from earlier was like on the nose?
Yeah, well, one of those is, or a couple of those could be accurate. Yeah, it's a guillotine. Yep. All right.
Okay.
いずれも許しがたく
Completely forgot that this is a thing that happens.
家族を食わすためにどうしても愛する妻と子よどうか許してください。鈴木様、私は人殺しなどしておりません。黙ってろってんだ。ビービービービーうるせえんだよ。
And he owns it.
10人殺した。女も子供も皆殺した。どうだおめえら喜べ。今日のカードはなかなかに面白い。
Hard.
ここは一つゲームをしませんか。私が数奇鏡閣下からいただいた。
Oh shit. I can give it
Yeah,
to
now I'm
one of
starting
the
to remember
three.
this.
しかし
Whoa.
残念ながら斜面上はこの一通だけ。
Oh, damn.
3人の男のイニシャルを書きつけておきました。
Wow.
どれか1枚引いてください。
待ってください伯
Convince
爵。
the other
それなら
that-
まず 彼らの言い分を聞くべきでは。
フランス様、我々は裁判官ではありません。なぜその善なる力を行使することをためらうのか。そうまるで神様にでもなったかのような心持ちで
Power of life and death.
人の命をゲームに使うなんてどうかしてる。帰ろうぜアルベール。
ゲーム、そうゲームです。
Ah, life is a game.
我々自身の人生も誰か別の人
Yeah,
間の
yeah,
ゲー
here
ム
we go.
My life was that.
Oh, the
Do nothing that all
pressure.
3,
何かを見つける
like,
旅に出られた。新しいご自分をつかむために
Wow.
ご自身の意志で
This is working.
アルベール。
That smile. Let's see a smile. Yeah, 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 yeah.
you're gonna start losing options
Yeah,
if you take
yeah,
much
yeah,
longer.
yeah. But we don't know who that is.
Or B. Yeah, okay.
Which one is that?
からのお許しが出た。赦免される者はペピーのことロッカブリより。
Oh, Peppino. Oh,
Hey, okay.
nice. Okay.
That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But isn't that the guy that murdered? Yeah, yeah, it's the guy that murdered them. Yeah, yeah. Wow. Wow.
アルベール様。
You know what's definitely a thing that happened here?
What?
Is he's gonna pocket the cards.
So you don't
because
see the other ones?
all the other ones probably had the same initials.
Probably.
Yeah, yeah.
目を離してはなりませんぞ、アルベール様。
As the other people get killed.
Yeah. Wow.
"手加減はするな、バティスタン。
Okay.
私の復讐は
So we're getting things a bit from the Count's perspective now.
Yeah.
なあ、気分直しにカフェでも行こうぜ。だったらさ、カジノってでも
賭け事なんかやめてくれ。
Oh, that's like a game, and it's like, you know, risk. Ah.
大体お前が見よう見ようって言ってたんじゃないか。全部自分で決めたことだ。だからこそ頭にきてんだよ。俺自身に。てか、
Yeah,
お前
yeah.
はいつも俺に構いすぎなんだよ。お前は俺の彼女か？
Ah.
母親かよ。
俺は帰って舞踏会の準備をする。どうする？
Oof. Oof. Oh, the girl at the car. Oh.
今夜はカーニバル最後の夜よ。こんな夜に一人ぼっちなんて。
Oh, it's a cool dress.
Yeah.
It's like skull
最低の日
constellations.
だったから。
And the carnival ends.
Okay. New day.
Oh, that's cool.
Ah, as the lights go out.
Well, also as people just leave. Ah, fireworks.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
もう慌てないね。
This is where he gets robbed, right? Yep, yep. Got him.
Yep.
Oh, no. Who are you gonna call? Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah. Thief busters. Well, I feel like an idiot for not finishing this series.
Oh. this is really stylish and good.
Oh my God.
Especially that song that they played at the end. And I really love the idea that that's the ED, now that I think about it more and more, is that a lot of times in the first episode of an anime, they won't really play the OP until the end.
It might be in place of the end credits.
Right. And then they'll do that as the first bit for the beginning of the regular episodes. And then this little beginning bit that they had, which was a really soft, like, piano, maybe, I think there was some strings in it, just music of, it sounded like the Count almost singing about what he's lost.
Right.
And it was really, really just depressing.
I love EDs generally, sometimes even more than OPs, because of how they often go for the more somber feel and tone.
Yeah, but they might have reversed things
here. But they reversed it with this, and I love it, right? Yeah. Having the somber tone going into the story, and then having the frenetic, like, terrifying
thriller
song at the end of, like, this is what's coming. Like, oh, man. It's great.
It's really cool because what made the story of the Count of Monte Cristo so exciting was that you are, and this is what they're changing really in this a lot, is that they're not giving you really that much perspective from the Count's point of view. Thus, we don't know whether we should trust him.
And we almost certainly shouldn't.
Well, of course not. Yeah, because he's basically this is his point where he's in the seduction of the innocent one, who he will then use as his tool of vengeance.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but because again I didn't actually finish the book, so I don't know how the unabridged book ends.
It's very different from the movie.
Oh no, totally different.
I'm really excited for you.
It diverges from the movie, like so that you're not even dealing with the same characters around like a third of the way through. I think. But one of the things that I kind of got the impression of is that the Count quickly becomes basically the bad guy, right? Is that he is the enigmatic force he's around, and his vengeance is terrible, and it's unseen, and then all of a sudden it's there, and it's inescapable, right?
It is inevitable. This guy basically took Thanos' line of "I am inevitable" to the umpteenth degree.
Yep. And
he is slow, he's calculating, he's methodical, and he's almost a bit in love with his own tragedy at times. Like, you can see him almost waxing poetically about, I've lost so much.
Right. Because you have to, right? That's all he has. It's what keeps him warm at night, right?
Nothing keeps him warm at night.
Well, right.
He's cold as ice.
Well,
and I love that.
Which the whole idea of like, he might
be a vampire.
He might be a vampire, and in fact, he probably is a vampire. I love because thematically it fits perfectly because the Count's bloodlust is kind of his big problem, right? And over the course of the book, as we got later into it and he started, and since we would be seeing things from the perspective of other characters that had not felt the horrors of what had been done to the Count and things like that.
Right.
They usually are just people that get caught up in it. They're not even the people that the revenge is going against. They're the innocent bystander, basically, right?
Yeah.
The impression that I got is that it was the question of, will the Count ever be able to put aside revenge, right? Will it consume him for all eternity and all that stuff, and will they all get caught up in it?
And is he just a black hole of just destruction?
Or will these people that are very similar to who he used to be, will they be able to sway his heart and and get him to actually to stay his wrath, right?
Yeah. And I'll just say, I will never talk at all about the ending. I will only reference things that I know based on kind of the structural setup that's more kind of backstory.
Yeah.
But the thing is, already thus far, because we're in a sci-fi, and because, Rome is now Luna, so they're on, like, the moon, basically, of Earth, like, there's so many things that they can slightly adjust for more of, like, dramatic emphasis on a specific thing.
Well,
I don't even remember if this game of life or death in the cards, is it random, is it staged specifically? I don't even remember if that was a thing, but it's so perfect as capturing what is the Count's whole thing here.
Especially since he's got 3 people he's after.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Well, no. There are 3 main people. I believe it's
technically Mercedes is also one of them. But
well, actually, that's a thing. I'm going to pull back a little bit.
Okay.
In the books, the Mercedes thing is. It's complicated.
Yeah.
So there's Danglars, Morcerf, and Villefort.
Right.
Mondego, as in the movie, is not really I believe he's not even really a thing. Like he's a character that exists, but he's not one of the big three.
Well, and it's definitely not like in the movies where it's and then he's the main bad guy, and then at the end it resolves in a sword fight or whatever. No.
I'm not going to say anything about that. But the Danglar, as far as I remember, is actually the big bad in the primary like book story.
Okay.
And then Villefort is the politician. He's not the politician. He's the legal guy. He's got the
and his wife does the poisoning stuff and all that.
Yeah. His wife is really fucked up. But but Morcerf, I have a little bit of rustiness on what his role in the whole thing was.
So I'll go over the stuff that basically I remember from the books. The biggest
call
thing
him general in this.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true, which is curious. But the biggest thing that stood out to me when I read the book that was a glaring difference from the movie, not just more information, but like something that was different, is that there was a point where basically the Count came really close to killing Albert in a duel because like with pistols and stuff because of a slight on his honor, but it was really like something where he was wanting to get like revenge on Mercedes basically. And then there was a point where basically he was convinced to not do that, and then Albert and Mercedes, from what I could recall, basically were then destitute because their livelihood was still ruined, but they survived and they basically left the story and figured out how
I'm not going to comment on anything about that.
Okay, all right. Because this is another one of those things where the levels of indirection of like what I know about this story second-handedly because of the movie and then the book and then whatever this decides to change
abandon
the
movie.
Book. No, I know. But like I'm very curious to see how this goes, given that Albert seems to be the main character.
We get freaking we get Kire Kotomine voicing the Count, and
it's glorious.
It's glorious, but there's an aspect of his voice that I feel like is I called it intentionally soft. But there were multiple moments in the parts where he was doing his voice where you could tell that he bit basically. He adjusted out of that performance to kind of have a little bit of authority, a snap to it.
Right.
And those were almost always moments he wasn't talking to Albert. And this is the part that I'm really looking forward to, is that the Count in the books was a chameleon. You would never know, because of the nature of it being a written medium, no visual aspects, you wouldn't know sometimes if you were speaking to the Count, except by the cues of the way that he would speak. His language was so specific. So in a visual, expressive, just artistically, just fabulous medium here, how are they going to make his actor, his presentation, all that those shades of him come out in a different way to different characters when we can just look and see him, and he is a very uniquely designed character.
Oh yeah,
he's blue. He's
got pointed ears and like different colored eyes.
Yeah, exactly. I could. It would be hard for me to ever confuse him for someone else.
And you mentioned something of like the seduction, basically, right? Which I love, because even in the books, that was something that he very much did. They would talk about how it wasn't just that the Count was wealthy; it was his presence, right?
Yeah.
And in this situation, he definitely has a presence, which, if he's a vampire, then is very fitting. Because yes, it's the vampire seduction.
He's a predator,
right?
basically.
He is a predator, right? And the Count is a predator. He's on the trail of his prey. He's smelling blood, right? And he's going for it, right? And it makes him hungry. All those times that he keeps mentioning blood, like and focusing on like the blood of the execution,
and he doesn't eat the food.
Nope.
I loved that because if we're going to build the lore of a new adaptation here, one of the things that you're going to have to do is choose how to abridge the story, basically.
Sure.
Because you can't really just fully adapt Count of Monte Cristo in 24 episodes.
But doing it as a TV show in general is a step in the right direction.
That is a very good choice. I would agree. But the idea that we're going to utilize a character who was loosely connected to Franz, which, by the way, his name's Franz. We had to double check on that, but it's not Eugenie.
Because Eugenie is the betrothed. Yeah.
Right. Which is interesting, because then if I remember correctly, then Eugenie is actually a very connected character.
Oh yeah.
the idea that we got this brief kind of bit of exposition from the aristocrat lady to kind of give Albert and Franz a little bit of a, hey, you know, this is who he is, who knows what he is, and then starting the story this far in advance from where the quest for revenge and who, you know, the Count originally was even starts there. You can use Albert being the innocent bystander to learn things as the story goes in both directions, like into the past and into the future.
Sure.
So he can start to put together the puzzle himself of who the Count is.
Oh, yeah.
Why the Count is specifically like interested in him.
Yep.
And there's a lot of stuff that they can go into it. And and we're already seeing things where they're not really showing Albert figuring it out, where these are things that the Count is intentionally setting up, like the execution thing being 3 people, there being 3 cards, the randomness in who gets chosen.
Maybe it was random, maybe it wasn't.
The injustice of it all. He's trying to mold the mind of Albert, and then the thief, who's totally just randomly, you know, here following you, Albert, and stuff like that. It's not at all something that was set up.
And unless they change something from the book, is also not a girl. But, you know, like, so we'll have to see how that goes. The idea that also, you mentioned before we got into the discussion that this is a sci-fi, so they can also change things with that.
Yeah, there's a lot that could change with that,
So, Monte Cristo, for instance, doesn't have to be an island. It could be a moon, an asteroid, a ship, whatever. It could be the place where, if he's a vampire, he became a vampire, and then just, this has been his like, you know, eternal, immortal amassing of wealth, you know, like, right, exactly. Like, who knows, maybe even the people that he's looking to get vengeance on aren't even around anymore. Like, maybe,
or at the very least, maybe they could mess with the time side of things, and it's truly much later on in their lives where they're all like older.
Right.
But one of the aspects of the story that I think they wouldn't do with this is make him actually old, because I think that one of the things that makes his story one where it's tragic, if you will, is that he was so wanting to make sure that they didn't get their happy lives.
That he doesn't get his, right.
Yeah, and also that he doesn't get his. Is that the Count being one that pushes, in some ways, his youth aside, but he doesn't spend that much time actually planning his revenge in terms of the scale of what his life, you know, like, you know,
he's still a relatively young dude even by the end of things, and hence why it's the whole thing of your life could still be ahead of you if you turn this around. And that's one of the things that I'm curious to see how they'll explore with the idea of him being a vampire, because thematically
he might not be a vampire.
He might not be a vampire, but that was a very pointed thing to bring up, you know, of like, oh, we don't know what he is, you know, blah blah blah.
And then only pills.
The very last thing that the lady says is he could be a vampire. It's like, okay, that's pointed, you know. And he's got the pointy ears and everything, but the whole idea of vampires is that they're never satisfied, right? They're dead people walking, right? Which, you know, the ice cold hands, and regardless of whether he's a vampire or not, the thematic parallels are like they are so on point. Like, I never would have actually thought of like, hey, Count of Monte Cristo, make him a vampire. But it really works.
It really does.
It really works.
He lives in the shadows. He is capable of seducing people with mere, you know, presence and words.
Even the asking if you may enter, because like if you think about it, because the Count was always, he would go into disguise and and he wouldn't just betray people, he would become friends of these people.
He would become their trusted ally.
Like
he would help them in their dreams.
He drank it up
true.
Before he actually executed his vengeance. So the idea that he's a vampire, it's like, or, you know, might be a vampire, right? I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
You know what this is giving me vibes for in an interesting way? It's reminding me of villains in other stories where they kind of come alongside the protagonist in a very, like, I'm going to help you.
Sure. Kind of Kreia-ish, or Or
to expand out to
more
ones where they're
manipulative.
more disgustingly terrifying.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm talking like Silence of the Lambs and like a way where there's just this acknowledgement from the protagonist usually that this person is dangerous.
Right.
But the difference
and Franz
here,
noticed that. He's like, no, we're good.
Franz immediately notices this. But what I love about this is that because Franz is not the target of the seduction, Albert is just a lamb being led to slaughter.
Yeah.
He has barely the foggiest clue.
It feels very Phantom of the Opera, kind of, with the Phantom's influence on what's
On
her face?
Daae?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. But also in a more villainous kind of sense, it reminds me of Monster too.
Yes. That Johann Liebert kind of
Where the boogeyman and you feel his effect sometimes when he's not even there.
Yeah.
And that was definitely something in the book, so I can't wait to see them go through with that there, because we did have a omniscient third-person perspective of sorts when they were fencing.
That's
so
true.
They can leave
That's
the
true.
perspective of Albert, and it
right.
can still work in the story.
Because
okay.
one of the things that is, and it didn't work as well with the books, I feel like, because you can't change perspectives as quickly in a book as you can in like a visual medium.
Sure.
But since the question is about whether the Count will actually be able to turn away from wrath and revenge and actually live his life, getting those little moments that we can glimpse into his perspective, and not just whether his plans are working, but the kind of influence that our main character might be having on him as well, like in turn.
Yeah, because that's definitely something that will happen.
Because he's not dead yet, you know, like, so.
Death is certain, the hour uncertain.
Right.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I love it. So, y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
Stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yes, if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.